Welcome to the SoloCEOs, the podcast for solopreneurs by solopreneurs. Here we celebrate, commiserate, and problem solve all the world's craziness that comes with building a business on your own terms.
I'm Marilyn Johnson, a supplier development and supplier diversity consultant. And
I'm Terra Winston, executive coach and leadership consultant. And we are the SoloCEOs.
Yay! How y'all doing today? Terra, how you?
I'm doing great. I am so excited about our topic today.
Why?
Because our topic is we got a guy. And Marilyn Johnson is the queen of always having a guy. And
I don't know where she got that from.
You know, Marilyn knows everybody. But I think what makes
don't believe it, people.
Why I'm so excited about this topic is that, you know, being a solopreneur is something I'm very proud of. And as solopreneurs, we cannot do it on our own. We have to surround ourselves with the right resources. And I think that's probably, so I can't speak for everybody. It took me longer than I'd like to admit to get that to sink into my head that I needed to get help and I need to pay for help, right?
That's because you're not a delegator. I'm the queen of delegation.
Oh, okay, so that's my question to you, right? Like,
I don't know how to do that.
Like, do it. Okay, so
I don't know how to do this.
When did you get your first person?
Oh gosh, that is. I know exactly when I got my quote unquote first person. It was actually how I started my business with a designer who happens to be one of my best friends. I needed a business card. And now you got to remember, Terra, this is 21 years ago. So things were not as easily procured as they are now. And I was just broke. And so I just started asking people. I asked my friend, I need a business card. And I actually designed my own. I can't even, that by itself is frightening. And I showed my friend, I said, look, this is my business card. And he goes, oh, no. And we had a competition. This only happens when you are not serious about anything. Here's why it's stupid. I have an undergrad and a grad degree in business. I had so strongly set up a competition against a graphic designer. His degree is graphic design.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is your reminder that book learning is not common sense.
Clearly he won because 21 years later, the design that he created is still my logo. So it ended up being my business card, which then, and this is so, and I don't want to trail too far off, but this is how solopreneurism in general is an organic venture. Because it was because of that business card that I went to a business fair looking for projects, gave it to a former coworker, and he goes, wow, you started a business. And I was like, oh, yes, I did. That was the absolute first time I had ever even thought about being in business. I never even thought about it. So I guess I can credit me being in business to my very first connection of outsourcing.
Wow.
Yeah.
We are polar opposites. And anyone who has listened to this podcast knows new news. So I just like you, I designed my very first business card because again, we're both like dinosaurs. It was it was at Kinko's. Right, so I went to.
I couldn't afford no Kinko's. I had a ruler and a pencil.
I went to Kinko's and sat at the rent a PC. So you sat at the PC And I used like their software to make a business card and print it out and have them make the cards in the day. That was my first set of cards. And I think that's probably the best explanation of how my mind normally
Uh,
thinks. I will sit down like, can I figure it out? I'm sure I can. Right. And so so that was what I was doing with my business card. That's what I was doing with my website. Like that's what I was doing. Like
mm.
my first taxes were, into it using the software, the tax software. I had a spreadsheet and doing my own books. Y'all, I was terrible at these things. It's
Yeah, no, I didn't even attempt it. I didn't even attempt it. No, no.
it
I
took me
because
years to
yeah,
realize I needed help.
what I realized was one that wasn't my ministry. I don't know how to do that. So I know what I know, and then other stuff. There are other people that are way more qualified, and it just so happens that it saves a lot of time. I mean,
Hmm.
when you think about the amount of time that you spend trying to do stuff that is just not in your wheelhouse, and you equate that to the dollars that you would charge a customer, you have just saw thousands of dollars march out the door because you was trying to be fancy or cheap, you call it what you want, to do something that's just not your thing. I start asking people who you know somebody, and so hence our topic of we got a guy.
We got a
And it's not
guy.
always guys, because it's girls too, ladies, men.
Non
We just have
non-binary folks, all
yeah,
the
we
peoples.
all people, we just want good people. Period.
Absolutely. So I want to reiterate what Marilyn just said. It is very hard when you look at your small budget to say I want to allocate some of this and hire a good person to help me. But the honest answer is those hours that you spend come from somewhere, and and usually it's something that could be making you more money, right? And so
Right.
it's the right kind of investment. So your very first support person was graphic design. Who?
My best friend. So let's be real clear
Mhm.
for folks who have tiny budgets, Sarah, like you just talked about. You don't have to look for the best of the best, or you don't always have to look in some of the higher echelon areas. Look at your friends, because I'm telling you, my best friend designed my business card. And unlike Terra, she was smart and went to Kinko's to have hers copied. He, on the other hand, and this is not a lie, he exacto knife cut out 50, 50 cards,
Oh,
50 cards, so I could have them for this conference. Oh my God, when you start talking about Kinko's, I just thought about, oh man, Steve, Terra knows Steve.
mhm.
He not only designed my logo, he got an exacto knife and thick paper and cut out 50 business cards for me. One, that's a friend who definitely has had my back for a billion years. But notice I went to my friend because we have friends and
Mhm.
family members, or your family members or your friends have friends who do stuff, and they are usually more than happy to help. Um, just like I don't have biological children, but I have young people that are, I think, amazing humans, but I've been their mentors for years. And my first website, see, I'm not talented in that area like Tara. I don't know how to do this. One of my kids told me about this website that I could find somebody for cheap to do my website because he had done his. And it's just, I didn't know. He told me, and next thing I know, I was on, I think it was
Yeah.
guru.com. He says, you can find somebody to do your website for, I forget what it was at the time. And Eureka, I went right to Guru, and all I know is I needed presence. So I think it's important for our audience to know you have to have presence, and you have to figure out the best way to get it. Because I was on a tight budget, and I didn't know that specialty. I needed to find where I could get the most for the money.
Well, I want to break down two things that you just said, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the first one is that like we are surrounded by people that have talents, right?
Yes.
What Marilyn is not saying is call your friend and say, "Hey, you want $5 to do this thing that you don't really do," because your business actually deserves it to be, not someone's playground, or even someone's learning. It's okay if it gives someone a chance to grow some experience or work on their portfolio. But what you want to avoid, particularly when you talk about friends, family, and people that love you, like, oh, I got 5 minutes. I don't really do this thing, but I'll lend a hand in for you, right? So choosing the person that you're going to get support, that
Mm-hmm.
like you're not an expert in it. You need someone that knows more than you do.
Yeah,
Quite
absolutely.
frankly, to start that way. But also, you want to, and this is gonna sound crazy, you want to pay them. You want this to be a thing that they do,
Mm-hmm.
not just a favor. Number one, like, Marilyn and I very strongly believe in paying people what they're worth because we want to be paid what we're worth, right? And so, so if someone's going to do a project, it makes sense to pay them. But also, you need to be able to expect what, something on the back end. This ain't just a hookup necessarily. This
Right.
is like you want people to actually do the work, and so that you can hold them accountable for the work that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
No, you're absolutely right. And just always remember, when you're always looking for a hookup, you become part of the hookup timeline. Hookup timeline is not always your timeline.
mm,
And even if you can't, so if somebody charges 3 or 4 times more than you can afford, offer up something. But Tara, something that I think both you and I know, be very direct.
mhm.
Don't beat around the bush. Ask people what you want so that they know directly what they're supposed to be doing, if they can. And if they can't, then ask them if they know someone who can.
And that was going to be that's the second thing that you talked about. Saying
Mhm,
that one of your children refers you to a site. Like,
mhm,
a big question is, where do you, like, I don't know anybody. How do I know where to go to even find a resource if I don't have someone in my friend set? And the honest answer is, we've worked almost primarily through referrals. Like, so whether it's direct
mhm,
referrals to a resource or a referral to a site that people use. And so, like, right now, like, one of my good friends who's an entrepreneur, he was the one that got me first started on Fiverr. Right? He was like, "There's
mhm.
a site, Fiverr." He said, "There's a lot of nonsense out there, but based on what you need, this may be something that gets you part of the way."
Yep.
Right? And so, so having, so if you have a need, I think the very first thing you want to do is define very clearly what that need is. One of the biggest ways to go awry with whoever you bring in to partner with, whether it's a company, whether it's a friend, is not having really good, detailed understanding of what your deliverable looks like, what you're asking for. Really scope out the project work. Otherwise, like, people will give you what they think you need to have, and if it doesn't fit in your mind, you start to create tension and conflict. And
Right.
that even more so if you're going to a site or going to a resource you don't know. The more the lack of clarity often leads to more dollars on the back end for you to finally get to the thing that you want. So,
And what's interesting is, and Tara, you and I, we 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 talk all week long, and just this week we came up with the Maryland, I got a guy. Folks, let me tell you, you've probably forgotten about the talents and skills of people that you've met over the years.
mhm,
It's amazing when you sit back and think about all the people that you know. You look at, hey, what is it that they do? So it's important that you listen and you understand, not that you're always on a fact finding mission. It's just, you know, you know this person, but people can definitely come in handy when you need them to. I mean, we just did this week when I had forgotten about a whole group of resources because they're attached to some of the work that I do.
mhm,
And I compartmentalize a lot of things. And so when it comes to the we got a guy role, I rarely reach into the work customer pool. It's easier for me to reach into the friend customer pool or business networks that I've made outside of direct work. But then I started thinking about, hey, wait, no, I'm leaving a whole bunch of talent on the table. People that I know
who would probably be more than happy to assist. So when you're looking for that resource, think of everybody, not just one side of your connection pool, all of them,
Mm-hmm.
because somebody is out there that can help you. But like you said, Tara, and I have to reiterate it, know what you're looking for. Don't waste folks' time, because that's
Mm-hmm.
the quickest thing to get somebody to shut you down. That's just like when people say, hey, I'm looking for a job. I love this. And then you say, oh, okay, cool. What you looking for? What do you do? Well, I need a job. Okay, well, you know what? I'm done.
I can
And I
help you
need
with
$1
that.
million. You got to play. In order to win, you got to play. Tell me.
Well, so and what goes hand in hand with that
Interpret Marilyn, because she's doing that today. She's the Marilyn interpreter. So tell them what I just said. And Terra,
what you just said was 100% right. It
yeah,
requires no
be
translation.
real clear.
Be extremely clear. And actually, where it led me to think about was also being real clear in yourself about what good enough looks like. And you mentioned this early on when you're talking about your logo, about not needing the best, right? So particularly for me coming out of corporate, what I found was, okay, I need some marketing. So in corporate, we had the marketing, like the whole marketing team, and then
Mm-hmm.
there was the brief, and then there was, like, so in my mind, when I was like, oh, I need support, I was thinking of support in the ways that we would have gotten in corporate. And the honest answer is that's overkill for my business, overkill for my sanity, and definitely overkill for my budget. And
Mm-hmm.
so being able to scale back and say, like realistically, what is it that I need, and what does a good enough look like? Because you could waste weeks and weeks and weeks looking at people wanting to look at their portfolios, trolling websites. You can tell I'm the researcher of the
I
crew.
research.
I'm just saying, I'm talking about my own challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I was burning a
That's
lot of
because she know
time.
how to do a whole bunch of stuff, and she got to talk herself down from trying to do that. It's like, hello, lady, what are you doing? You could
Hmm.
be making a sale instead of fixing a website. Hello, just saying.
Yeah, well, it's true. And then
Not
there's the flip
talking about
side,
another friend.
like a whole nother friend, like not even somebody we know, right? Yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
but recognizing, like, okay, you know what, I need someone to do this thing, and chances are they're going to be good enough for what I need, versus it's almost like the equivalent now when people talk about online dating, the Tinder effect. Like, oh, this person is great, but if I swipe, maybe the perfect person will be next. And so easy to keep looking for the perfect resource for something, when in fact you need a resource that's good enough to get you to the next level. Because remember, you're all this is building things so that you can have the space and energy, and the resources to grow your business, or to work in your business. Um, so Marilyn, so I have a question for you. Like, we've been
Yes,
talking
ma'am.
about I got a guy, gal, person, as it relates to support services, but
Yes.
both you and I also subcontract out work at times. How is it different, the way that you look at securing support services versus maybe subcontractors that do more of your core client work?
Who? So again, the friend train. I would, if I needed somebody, I looked at my pool of my first level of, and if you think of it in circles, I look at my immediate circle to
Mhm.
see who has that talent. Again, I always go to my core talent pool, which is my friend pool. And then if I can't find somebody within that friend pool who can make a reference, then I go to my customers and
Mm.
ask them if there's somebody else. Now, the one thing that I do is I have access to other pools of business owners, because I am a certified woman-owned and minority-owned business. And so you can gain access to research and talent that way. I don't tap into that as much, because one thing I've learned, Tara, is I have to have a work synergy with everybody that I'm working with, and
Mhm.
meeting people, especially when it comes to client work like that, meeting people kind of online, it's hard to know if their strategies are the same as yours, if you guys can have a really good work vibe. I mean, let's be clear. That's how I met you, was
Mm-hmm.
through a client engagement. And we saw how each other worked, which then said, okay, this person is solid. Yeah. And the deliverable is exactly what I like. And people, be honest with yourself to know what it is that you like, because if you don't know what you like, it's hard for you to go and find somebody, because you'll never find somebody that meets your qualifications, your whatever, because you don't even know what you like. So you got to figure out what it is you like. You got to figure out what your deliverable is. Everybody doesn't deliver at the same scale, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just know what your strengths are. And then that's kind of, did I answer the question?
You did 100%. I find my subcontractors much the same way. So I don't have a business model where I'm just out selling willy nilly, and I then have to plug in people to fill it, right? So I sell work, and as it gets bigger, I will bring in people as I need.
How
And
do
so
you find them? Because you're very specialized.
I am very, very
How do you find your
specialized.
people?
And so it's largely through my friend network and my business network, right? So people
Hmm.
that I've had extended experience with, either maybe I've seen them facilitate, I've seen, or we've had coaching
Can I
conversations
put a
facilitating
pin in
me.
that for a second, please, Miss? I've seen them facilitate.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
people, you have to know that if Terra has seen you facilitate and she knocks on your door to co-facilitate with her, oh, you bringing the heat, because you have not seen somebody rip somebody up one side and down the other until you have gotten a full-blown write-up from Miss Terra Winston about why that facilitator is not what they should be. Just saying, okay, keep going. Just put it out there.
You're giving me a bad reputation. I have seen some amazing facilitators, and I've seen a lot of great people that I hope
Me,
make lots of
me,
money.
yeah,
Um,
because she actually has handed over part of her crown so that
mhm.
I can actually co-facilitate. We are very hard graders.
We're
We
very
don't
hard
grade.
graders. Such far graders. But
We do
and
not grade on the curve. Nothing against anybody. Just saying.
but that goes back
Coming
to your
half baked. Oh, mm-mm.
but that comes back to your point around,
Hmm.
like,
That's
know
your
what you
brand,
want your
man.
deliverable to be. And so what I also recognize is I don't need people that will facilitate, for example, like I do, right? I've got a very unique style, but I want them to be complementary. I know what feel I want them to have with my clients or my material. And that's important to me. And so, so usually I have had some experience with people. And unless the things that I'm doing is very, like, I feel like very fully sketched out and very planned, then I may go with someone that is a referral that I've not had experience with. But that's actually very rare for the work that I do. It's really important to, like, so whereas on the support team members, good enough is good enough. Like, if you're doing my website, good enough. Logo, good enough. My IT
Oh,
support, good
stop.
enough. Whatever, good enough
Oh,
compared
oh.
to the way that I scrutinize people that are actually, what in my very jersey speak, like, when you wear my jersey, right? When you are wearing like if you're on my team and you wear my jersey and you're wearing my brand, I have a very different lens that I look at it. Now, Mara's making all kinds of nonsense because we
I'm
have been
making
going
all
through
kinds of noise
because
over
we've been
here.
going
Like,
through a logo
I,
experience.
so let me just say this before you try and defend the undefendable.
Hmm.
I am not an engineer.
Why
I
does it
don't
sound
know
like an indictment when you say it like that?
I don't
I
know
feel
how to
attacked.
be an engineer. Therefore, I don't know how to over engineer. My lovely co-host, however, Tara, what's your undergrad in? Just throw it out
Whatever. I'm a proud systems engineering
there.
undergrad.
Ah! So she'll say, I I am not gonna be all detailed in the things. Y'all know Marilyn was done with said logo 3 iterations ago. Because I was like, this look good. It tell you it got the name. And let's stick to the topic. We got a person
Mm-hmm.
because the person who is designing our logo has basically built both of our brand voices visually through a customer of mine. I
Mm-hmm.
met her through one of my customers, and she's an amazing graphic designer as well as Steve. She is the one who is working with us, so she knows our aesthetic
Mm-hmm.
very well. You heard me say I was done 3 iterations ago.
I still have questions, and that's
See?
okay. I'm not ashamed.
Mhm.
Um, so
So
yes,
all that good enough is good enough.
so again, what like where is good enough for
Because you
me, and
made
where
up
I
a word
stop.
over there.
What is good enough for me and not perfect compared, when it comes to support services, it's still like as many questions as I'm asking about this logo. Like I got even more questions if you're going to facilitate on
Uh,
my side, the things that I'm looking for. But again, that's me, and here's the other piece of it. Like there are lots of organizations that for their growth as a solopreneur, as your growth, you may say, I want to do a lot more sales, and my model is to have a cadre of subcontractors that I can work with. I
yeah.
have not chosen that, right? And I'm being very deliberate about that because I like my work to be a bit more custom. I like to spend more time actually delivering than managing subcontractors or even doing sales, right? And so, and to Marilyn's point, because I've got some standards that are very important for me to meet. It doesn't match who I am to then go into this other type of model, right? So
But
even
I,
as you think about your business, like be very aware of kind of what you want and how you like to operate.
Tara, I think though it's important to lean hard on the fact that as solopreneurs, our business is a really a close extension of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that we go about handling our business largely looks like how we handle many things in our life. And when you start looking for people to support you, if that's not how you run your life, you're not going to be satisfied with the folks you find because
Mm,
it's going to run completely against how you operate. So you have to find that natural fit, the natural cadence, the people
mm-hmm.
that really kind of fold in well. Because there's one thing to want something, that's the ideal. And then there's one thing to have something, that's the actual.
Mm,
And so
yeah.
just know what your actual is. Don't try and go for something that is not, it just doesn't work. Because how many times, Tara, have you had solopreneurs and even entrepreneurs come and say, oh, so and so didn't work out? Like, well, why didn't they work out? Well, they didn't do this or they didn't do that. Or it's like, well, were you clear? Did they fit within your way of doing business?
Mm-hmm.
Because what you said is not what you expected. It's
Yes.
almost kind of like when I was in the dating game and people would look at the resume and they wanted the resume and then they looked at me. Resume is tight.
And they were like, she's
She's
amazing.
amazing. And then they met me and was like,
Like
these
you can
two,
be amazing and crazy
right. It's
at
like,
the same
how
time.
is that possible? And so all of that is know what you really want. Like what makes sense?
Well, here's a perfect
Just saying.
example, right? So Marilyn, like the way Marilyn works with her entire support system is even different than how I do mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about like bookkeepers and accountants. We like
Oh,
we both have people that keep our books and do our taxes, right? I love mine. They're great. They are people that when I need them, we plug in, and when I don't, we disconnect. When I say my team, they're not on my list of my team, but that's different from Maryland. Like the people
man,
that support Maryland are like
let's be
are
clear.
part of a team. Like there's a different culture. It's the way, but that's how Maryland works. Maryland is one of the warmest people. Like when you're in her circle and when you're in her friend circle, you feel it very viscerally. And it shows in the way that she works and how she's developed this kind of network of support.
Girl, this is so funny when you talk about accountants because people, Terra and I always have a back and forth about I have the best accountant,
I
she
got the
has the
best
best
accountant.
accountant. And it I can't scream loud enough that you have to get a good accountant, period. You gotta have somebody you trust to handle your money. Don't try and do it yourself unless
Oh.
that's what you do for a living.
Even if
You
that's what you
gotta
do
have
for a
somebody.
living, don't do your own.
Mhm. But my accountant and I go way back so far that my accountant is also an event planner. This is so hilarious because he planned my wedding reception. Just saying. But
Yeah. You see this nonsense? You see, like, mhm.
and he is an amazing accountant. Trust him with everything. And Tara, she takes a list of things to her account. Just know your strength. Know what you're comfortable in. Don't jump in the pool if you can't swim.
Well, and like my
Don't.
accountant was, this is not the first accountant that I had. So first
This isn't
was
my first accountant
like
either.
like my very first account was me, and she was terrible. She got fired.
See,
Um,
and see, she again, you hear this. She tried it. She got
tried it.
I looked at into it and I was like, I am not into it. Let me find somebody who can do this better than Marilyn because I'm not going to jail. Here's a rule. Your good accountant will keep you from
Keep
not
you
needing a lawyer.
out of jail. Yeah. Oh,
Keep you out of
speak on
jail.
it.
It's like the first thing you need in the business is not an attorney.
Mm.
You need an accountant.
So now, so once I realized I had to pay somebody for this, I actually got a
Y'all,
referral.
she didn't want to pay. That's what she trying to say. I
Like,
wouldn't get it for free.
I know numbers. Yeah, okay. So then, I got a referral from someone who I really respect and I still work with now. And the person that they gave me was nice enough, but I realized I was missing something, right? I felt I didn't have a financial partner, right? I had someone that I could drop my taxes off. They would do my taxes and send them back to me, but not anyone that would give me advice and kind of really help me partner through this. And so I went back to my network and said, does anyone have an accountant that they like? And I start to get a sense, back to Marilyn's point, what I wanted, like what was the kind of relationship, what did I expect from that accountant, and I was able to get like the person I have now, like he's fabulous. I actually bring together my financial planner and my accountant, and they have conversations. We all have conversations that kind of help me stay out of jail, but also build my future. Like I realized I needed more partnership, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to ask for what you want has made those relationships much more fruitful. And I'm sorry, I love him. He has never planned any event for me, so maybe I need to add that to my list the next time I look for an accountant. But so whatever the relationship needs to be for you is okay. And my whole point of mentioning that is like Marilyn and I have very different kind of orientations with
Mm-hmm.
the people that support us, and they work for us. They fit into kind of how we like to operate our businesses. I think that's
Right.
an important piece to remember.
So it's something as we're talking about this, I keep thinking, you know how we say we're solopreneurs, we're in business by ourselves and I work my way all the time, which is 100% correct. But we have a team of support. You
Hmm.
cannot do this all by yourself. You can be the brain trust, you can have the creativity and everything. But you cannot, in order to run a business, because there's multiple things that you have to do to run a business, you
Hmm.
have to have support. Otherwise, you will probably go insane because
Yeah.
it's so much. And then when you start adding in customers, you only have so much bandwidth. It's so important to remember you must have a team. And these people are not on our payroll 365 days a year. We pay them based on the level of service that they
Hmm.
provide when they provide the service. But you have to have them. And I mean, my Achilles heel is technology. And I fired my IT department this week. That's Terra. I don't even know why you got fired this week. But folks,
I get fired at least
anytime,
once
yeah,
every week.
anytime there's a update on the computer and stuff just goes crazy, the first thing my response is and then Tara's like, okay, go click this button, that button, and then. But even Tara, my IT department
Hmm.
lead, who gets fired on a regular basis, She even had a guy for IT who was
It
amazing.
was amazing. Like, so, and I am looking for another IT guy, right? So that actually leads perfectly to like my last question in terms of like what are the must-haves, like
Mm,
or when someone is thinking, because of course, like ideally I'd love to outsource everything, and when I say everything, everything but doing the work that I love. However, my budget does not allow for that. So so what in your like so the I will start because like where you led with the IT guy, like we had a wonderful IT resource. So if the email didn't go right, if the website did a little, like did a hiccup, I had someone to call. That is probably the number one thing that I miss coming out of corporate is a
mhm.
technology resource that just understood things. And so that's top of my list to get another person to support me that way.
Yeah, yeah. So Tara, let's pose a question to our audience because you and I, we can go on and on, but
Hmm.
it's not only about us. It's about us and everyone listening. What I want to know is how do you all look for your resources? Where are you finding them? Do you have an inner circle? Who's in it? Who's in that second layer? And if you don't have it, start thinking about it.
And how do you want them to reply to you?
Hmm. Yeah.
No, how do you want them to reply to you with this answer?
Oh, shoot, I didn't think about that. Y'all can send us a message via all our social media. I mean,
Hmm.
really,
Yeah.
let us know. We want to hear from you. We want to hear about some of the successes that you've had in finding people. This is about a shared community. And we are more than happy to share all of our resources that make sense. But we know that we don't cover everything because our audience is broad and dynamic and everybody has different needs. So let us know about how you go about finding your resources. If you have a phenomenal one, please share that too. Tara, I don't know all the terms. Where can they send all of their responses?
All right. So
See, she put me on Front Street. She knew I didn't know that answer.
we absolutely want to hear from you. So number one, go ahead, like follow us on social media, come to our LinkedIn page, come to our Instagram. We want to hear kind of where you're getting your resources and share any that you have. On top of that, join us, come to our website. We've got some other great resources. You see other podcasts and Guru Talks that will be there. And lastly, follow us individually. Both of us, both Marilyn and I have social media. And so if you want to follow us and just kind of holler at us, we can do that as well. This has been so fabulous, Marilyn. I can't wait. When they give us all their resources, we will have not just a guy, we will have a guy, a gal, a person, a
Yeah,
helper.
everything.
We have resources,
Everything.
all the resources we need to kind of keep
Hmm.
moving forward. And hopefully you all who are listening will feel the same way too. Thank you so much for joining us. See you next time.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the Solo CEOs, please share this podcast with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest, you can follow us on LinkedIn or Instagram at the Solo CEOs, or stop by our website for videos, resources, and other great stuff. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.